And speaking of how real this is, according to what Maria just said, an Arizona couple sharing their story this morning during the pandemic. Eddie and Ann Case both caught the coronavirus, even though they were isolated. Things took a turn, though, because Eddie had to be placed in a medically induced coma. So this morning they are here. They're sharing their experience with us virtually. Good morning to you guys.
Morning, Yetta.
Morning.
I am so sad to hear what you went through, but I'm happy you are here with us to talk about it. Gosh, there's a lot to get through. I want to know first, were you ever able to figure out how you contracted this?
Without having actual scientific data in front of me, it's really hard to figure out, with one exception that I think about half of my workforce in the office that I work in had basically caught the coronavirus. So I think it was at work.
Yeah, that's the thing with this. You can never really figure it out unless, you know, there is something confirmed in your circles. What were your symptoms before you got into the medically induced coma? What were your symptoms maybe for the first few days, first week?
Basically, it escalated from just a standard cough to fever, fever dreams, aches, digestive issues, and it just seemed to escalate. It seemed to climb a little bit more each day to the point where respiratory failure kicked in it's seemingly overnight.
And were yours the same, Anna?
Mine were much more milder. Low energy, fatigue, fever. Mine came up. The serious symptoms came and went in about 4 days. Although I did have lingering exhaustion for about 2 to 3 weeks.
So Eddie, as we mentioned, you were placed in a medically induced coma. And at what point did your symptoms that you just described take such a drastic turn that doctors had to do that?
As far as I can recall, everything happened so quickly from the very first ER that we went to. I'd say within a few hours of being transferred from standalone ER to East Mesa, things happened rapidly. When I got there, they had to put the ventilator in. I was fading quick enough that I was not coherent. So a lot of what I've heard is from Ann and a lot of what the doctors told me thereafter. But the blood oxygen level had dropped from a healthy 98, 99 all the way to 84. So I was on the verge of organ failure.
Wow. I'm wondering, you know, we talk about the strain that hospitals are in right now and the strain that doctors are put under trying to care for people who are in your same position, and sometimes their conditions are much worse. And if you could talk to us about, you know, what the doctors were saying, their temperament, and how it felt as they were telling you both of your conditions, but more importantly, your husband, when he was going through his roughest time.
Yeah, I was very, very thankful for the doctors and the nurses. They did a great job at communicating daily what was happening, especially not being able to be there and see him in person. And you could tell, and this was back in March, early April, and you could tell that they were stressed and overloaded. And I can't even imagine what they're going through right now with the amount of cases as they increase. So it was definitely very scary, but definitely thankful that they were able to take the time to, you know, just give daily updates. And we were just holding on to small hope that we'd see slight improvements every day, and that's essentially what happened.
You talk about the doctors looking and feeling panicked. I can't imagine that when you're going through something like this. We're running out of time, but I do have to ask you this one last question. So obviously the push now is for everybody to mask up. Do you have another message with everything that you've been through to people who are watching as we are continuing to watch the numbers surge here in Arizona?
Yeah, this illness, this virus strikes quickly. Doesn't give you much of a time, much time to sort out whether or not you can pack your bags and get to the ER safely. I was fortunate; I had Ann with me to look over my situation. The honest truth is, if I didn't have Ann with me, I would have probably crawled back into bed and very likely died in bed. That's the thing. So check your symptoms, stay inside, wash your hands. if wearing a mask is going to be something that helps the overall public, then consider it. It's not the worst thing that you could be doing. It's going to be a lot better than being on a full-blown lockdown again.
I can tell by your faces, this probably still feels very surreal for you guys that you're A, talking about it, and B, went through it. Does this feel like a dream?
It does. I never thought I'd get to a point where I'm looking back and thinking that this all could have ended, and so I'm eternally grateful that for the doctors and nurses, and for my wife and my family, just never giving up, and all the prayers and support. Made a big difference for all of us. So I appreciate everybody. Again, the doctors and nurses especially.
Yeah. Eddie, Ann, thank you so much for sharing your story, and we're so glad you're here to talk about it and to warn people as well.
Thank you.
Take care.